Namaste, greetings and blessings, and welcome to the Center for Spiritually Integrated Arts. This is our Sunday message, and I am Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson, the founder and spiritual director of this center. And I invite you to watch not only this Sunday message, but any of our archived messages. I invite you to join any classes or events that we have going on. I invite you to reach out and email if you have any questions. Questions about this community, questions about me, questions about what we do, or questions about this science of mind and spirit, liberation theology that we practice and teach. And if by chance you find yourself seeking beloved community with other like-minded beings, even if you already belong, are a member of another community, church, or center, you are more than free to have multiple affiliations wherever you are fed and find community. You are invited. And lastly, feel free to click like, subscribe, and share this or any other message or announcements with others in your circle. And with that, much appreciation, love, and blessings. Enjoy the message. Namaste and greetings. Y'all ready? Y'all ready for this? So, what are we talking about, huh? Do you like what we're going to talk about? So, an interesting word, beneathness, is the topic for today. But we're going to get there. Suppose someone comes up to you and they say, "Look beneath the hood." What are they saying? What does it mean? What does it look like for us to look beneath the hood of our lives? What would it look like if we were to go spelunking into our being, our thoughts, our beliefs, our emotions, our experiences? What would it look like if we went into and beneath all of these? Because that's what the invitation is this week, to explore this concept for the purpose of being able to embody and practice more effectively. So let's look beneath the hood. Ready? Let's go. Ralph Waldo Emerson says, "It's not the length of life, but the depth of life." Seneca says something very similar. It is quality rather than quantity that matters. Pause. Just breathe that in. It's not about length or quantity. It's about depth and quality. I have no idea what I am looking for or what I am looking at. Have you ever felt that way about yourself? I have no idea what I'm looking for. I have no idea what I'm looking at. Have you ever felt that way about your life? Have you ever felt that way about the world? Have you ever felt that way about somebody in your family, somebody you live near, somebody running the government? I have no idea what I'm looking for. It sure ain't that, and I don't know what I'm looking at, although I could make a guess. Well, one must look deeply to discover profound matters. Remaining superficial prevents the discovery of anything valuable to explore. Breathe that in. In order to find the things that matter, we must look deeply. Hence why we made the reference to spelunking. And for those of you who have no idea what that means, spelunking refers to the exploration of wild caves, often more focused on the recreational aspect rather than scientific research. It's when people go crawling through caves that people don't generally go crawling through. It's simply going beneath the earth into a cave to explore. However, for the sake of our conversation, what if we didn't go spelunking, but went self-pelunking? Yes, I just made the word up. Self-pelunking, which is the art and skill of self-exploration, expanding awareness of life and enlightenment of our being. In order to find the things that matter, we must go deep within. Self-exploration, expanding our awareness of life, and enlightenment of our being. Because the person that looks outside, they dream. Oh, if only, maybe one day. But the one who looks inside awakens. When we look outside of ourselves for anything, looking for love in all the wrong places, then we dream. We merely, in this kind of dreaming, it's not purposeful dreaming. It's simply wishing without doing any work. It's treating without taking any action. It's simply offering thoughts and prayers without changing any policies or anything that makes a difference in the world to protect children and other people from anything, really. But the one who looks inside finds the things that matter. We find the truth of ourselves and we are enlightened. We awaken, which is what Buddha means. One who has awakened, or the awakened one. Now, we've all seen the iceberg analogy in one way, shape, or form. But for the sake of this conversation, I want us to focus on three distinct aspects. One, what's beneath the, what comes after the, what's on the, and what's above the. So what comes after the, and the? On the surface, there is a certain appearance. Above the surface, there is a certain appearance. And beneath the surface, there is also a certain appearance. Very often, we focus on above. We don't even really take into account on the most times. The invitation this week for self-spelunking, this trinity. Be aware of what is on the surface, above the surface, and beneath the surface. Now, it doesn't, yes, of course, I'm going to bring cake into every Sunday message if I can, because the analogy is the same, right? There is on the surface of the cake. There is what's beneath the surface of the cake. And for this example, there is above the surface of the cake. Now, why am I mentioning this? Because there is this divine example or lesson or whatever you want to call it, representation throughout creation. We find God everywhere. This is an opportunity to say it's not just about cake. It's the parable of, what do I see before a slice comes out? I see the surface of the cake. I see what kind of icing it is. Without tasting it, I don't know. I can go by color and texture, but I don't know unless I can smell it or until I taste it. I can go based on what I see above, what is decorating it above the surface of the icing on the cake. But until I go into it, until I am willing to go into the depths of it, to remove a slice, to then embody the slice, I cannot truly taste the cake. And until I cut into it, I can't see what's beneath the. Now, I almost didn't do this, but slight detour. Since we was talking about cake, Any of you familiar with this television show? Is it cake? The idea is the cake artists create cakes that don't look like cakes. In other words, there are 4 paintings of the Mona Lisa. One of them is cake. So you see the artist painting it and crafting it, and you see them cutting into it, and you see the guest host eating it. Now, what's the point? The point being that sometimes what we see isn't necessarily what we think we see. Both of these two things are cake, the toy box and the toys, cake. The rack of ribs and whatever little broccoli, Brussels sprout vegetable, it's all cake. It's all edible. It's cake. So once again, the point. We see something. And usually we jump into a place of conclusion, jumping to conclusion. Though many of us jump to confusion, but we jump to conclusion. Oh, that's ribs. Oh, that's a toy box. Oh, that's a painting. But when we look deeper, we find, oh, it's cake. What in the world? Now, I mention this specifically because there are many folks who refer to life as a dream, as an illusion. It's not reality anyway. So let's pause for a second. And illusion is a thing that is or is likely to be wrongly perceived or interpreted by the senses. Right? And we got 5 senses. No, we're not doing ESP right now. We're not doing 6 sense. We're doing the basic 5. So it's when our 5 senses perceive something, but they perceive it in an inaccurate way. So, for example, an optical illusion, something that deceives the eye. An auditory illusion, something that deceives the ear. Tactile, right? You get the idea. It deceives. And yet, we hear something, we see something, we taste something, but what we're hearing, seeing, touching, tasting, etc., isn't what we think it is, but it's no less real, right? So what do you see? But do you not perceive the face? Yes, there's a cat holding a mouse. Yes, there's cheese. Yes, there's a red pepper. But within there is the face. We perceive, right? So Dr. Holmes says form is entirely in the realm of effect. Form comes and goes, but it is not self-knowing. Form is within the formless. Form is not an illusion, even when the form is in the form of disease. It simply is a false conclusion, but it is as real as it is supposed to be. Why do I mention this? I mention this because someone brought to my attention how uncomfortable they felt or how confused. I mean, there were a couple of words they used when a minister that they saw post something online that said the following: but please do so filled with the knowing that this entire world is a dream. The body is not what we are eternal beings. And the way that fear and war stops is within our own minds and hearts, never by making anyone else wrong. And the person was very distraught by this because are they saying that Hitler isn't wrong, or that we should not refer to him as wrong, or that someone who goes to a school with a weapon and causes great harm, that they are not wrong for what they did? So, if you have been with me for any length of time, then you know my position on this. Metaphysical malpractice, borderlining on metaphysical malfeasance, and referring to someone else as wrong, as a being, no. Referring to their behavior as wrong, without a doubt. Referring to actions they are taking in the world, without a doubt, wrong. The people who lynched Dr. King, Emmett Till, Medgar Evers, list goes on. They were wrong, plain and simple. Are they still divine expressions of God? Yep. But clearly they don't know that, or they would have never done what they did. So, this world is not a dream. Dr. Holmes said, it is as real as it is supposed to be. That which God is not a dream. Because this would imply that there is God that's awake and that God is that dreams or some whatever, that there's a separation versus there is only God, and this is a physical representation, expression, embodiment of God. Simple as that. So it is not a dream. It is an expression and incarnation of God. And those who know act differently than those who don't know. That being the case, let's go back. Back to the iceberg. The beneathness is not about going deeper to avoid or deny the objective or subjective realities, truths, and facts of our lived experiences. It is about living from the both and. Yes, we are eternal, and yet in this current form of expression, there is the experience of what we call death. Yes, there is only oneness, and yet we recognize this thing called separation of, I identify that as car, and that as tree, and this as dinner, and fire. I can clearly, I'm not trying to jump in the fire and drive it somewhere because I somehow think it's a car. I'm not trying to put this down and, somehow, I don't know, cook a meal over the fire but that's, okay. I'm not trying to pick apples out of the car because I think the car is a tree. I can identify it. I see the separation and I know how to navigate within the separation. I can differentiate between you and me. That's separation, and yet there's oneness, both and. The more we understand the various nuances and layers to the depth of being, the more we embody our true nature. So breathe. And let's return to our regularly scheduled program. We are back from our detour. As I said before, whether it's cake, the iceberg, or anything else, there is the on the surface, above the surface, beneath the surface. There's on the surface, above the surface, beneath the surface. And this could be anywhere. If we are focusing on the thermosphere, then there's what's above the thermosphere and what's beneath the thermosphere. If we're talking about the actual parts of the body. What's on the surface of the heart? What's beneath the surface of the heart? What's on the surface of the eye? What's beneath the surface of the bone? What's above the surface of your skin? The examples are everywhere. Even when we look at something such as that which is in the Hindu cosmology, this idea of your multi-dimensional self, or the five koshas, layers upon layers. There's depth. There's a lot that we could, unpack and talk about how these five layers, they are tied in with the chakras. And yes, there's so much that we could breathe. But once again, for the sake of this, it's simply recognizing that there's always more. There's never simply just that. Whatever that is, there's always more. We look at the anatomy of, quote unquote, the mind. There's the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, the unconscious mind, and depending on who you talk to, there's the superconscious mind. There's various brain waves, beta, delta. It's everywhere. We have the opportunity to ever look on, beneath, and above to know and understand ourselves, one another, this thing called life, because all of it gives us greater understanding of what God is. I notice this, that it is not the sentimental ones who gush and gush that big results come. It is to those who think deeply and simply and pertinently and persistently, and then, because they know, in what they believe, they know they will get a perfect result. This is the sum and substance of the whole thing. For you can then approach the infinite mind with a depth of understanding and thought, with a realization that you are dealing with reality. Didn't say a dream, didn't say an illusion. You are dealing with reality with a tremendous reverence that so far transcends the orthodox idea of prayer that you can compare them only as you can compare this planet with a molehill. How well do you know what you believe? I mean, really, how well do you have a grasp of what you believe? And when we think of in terms of science of mind and spirit, how well do you feel like you have a grasp of what the philosophy is, what the teaching is? Because if I were to ask you, based upon the teaching symbol, like what does it break down to mean? What are all the pieces and parts? Okay. And if you recall, a couple slides ago, there was an example. On one, the creature from the Black Lagoon was on one, attacking a boat or some nonsense. And Miss Williamson, our teacher here, she was indicating on, above, and below. You remember? You don't remember? Okay, fine. Because if we flip the teaching symbol, it's very similar to that iceberg. The downward facing V is the physical form. Well, that's what we see from the surface up. And as the V opens, there is the expression of mind and creation and the law, which is invisible to the naked eye. It's invisible to our awareness in this moment in the same way that what is beneath the surface, unless we peer beneath the surface, it's not readily visible. Once again, examples of the divine surround us, are what we are within us, all of it, our organs, our skin, all of it. So once again, to what degree have we gone within to the depths of our awareness? Only in looking beneath the surface and beyond one's appearance will we discover the colorful stories that make each person the colorful person they are. The phrase. There's a phrase we often say about let's just say something about a book and a cover. Don't write on the book's cover. No, that's not it. Don't try to get a cover. Oh shoot. Oh, don't judge a book by its cover. If you look at the surface of the person, oh, look at what they're wearing. They must be. Then you will never discover the colorful stories or the colorful person, the colorful incarnation of God standing before you. Even if the one you're judging, the cover you're judging is you. Only in looking beneath and beyond what's on the surface or above the surface, only by looking beneath will we find the expression of the divine. Now, just a slight sidebar, because it matters in terms of how we negate stories. As an archaeologist, there is a lack of diversity, which is a problem in archaeology because archaeologists are the people who help shape humanity's understanding of the past. So the background, the experiences, the mental noise, all of these things are going to shape how the archaeologist interprets the evidence that they find. A white archaeologist may very well and will ask questions that are different from someone who is Black, Hispanic, Indigenous, LGBTQ, etc. And while this phenomena has been noted for a long time, looking at how gender also plays a role, because that also factors in. It is important to note, to what degree are we allowing our implicit biases to interpret what we think this person is, or what they do, or the meaning of their lives or experiences, etc. Versus saying, let me simply explore. Let me ask questions that are beyond my own biases so that I can get to know the evidence of this being that is sharing more with me. For example, anyone who actually listens to the vast majority of the people in the current administration, what you hear is Christian nationalism, white supremacy, psychopathy, narcissistic psychopathy to be precise. But a lot of people, through their biases and through their lens, they hear patriotic, godly, exemplary Christians, good, upstanding, moral. It's what they hear. It's what they see, because they are looking through a particular lens, just like many archaeologists, etc. Okay, let's jump back. So, someone says that was deep. Generally, it means that someone made a statement or an observation or there was some piece of work that is deemed to have been profound, insightful, or complex. It had some kind of significant meaning that went beyond the superficial. It implies that the subject matter is not obvious, but requires deeper thought, reflection, and often an understanding of some underlying themes, values, and connections. Keep that in mind. Deep conversations with the right people, like a rich cup of coffee, are the best ones when savored slowly, where every word warms the heart, and each pause nurtures greater understanding. Now, from someone who loves both of these, because I love a cup of coffee and I love deep conversation. While I will engage in small talk, because that's what the vast majority of people engage in, I thrive off of deep conversation, which is one reason, as of lately, I have been in I don't want to say depressed, but in a down, low energy vibration of stuff, because I miss those kinds of connections. I don't have any deep conversations. Pretty much not at all. I mean, unless I'm teaching something like the Wednesday night discussion group, or some other class. And that's not really conversation. I'm in teacher mode. I don't have deep conversations anymore. So I don't get to rich cup of coffee, savoring slowly every word, allowing it to warm my heart, and allowing each pause to nurture deeper understanding. This is vital, though. It is extremely important for us, especially those of us in this teaching, New Thought in general, to have deep conversations. Now, a couple of things I want to point out with this. One, is that Hannibal Lecter? Is that Agent Starling? Is the guy in that second picture, is his name Daryl? And is that woman's name Carol? And is the black guy in the bottom picture a crooked cop? Or is that the character that each of these people played? Now, what pulls us in? Characters with depth. Characters that are known as round characters, who possess complex personalities, who have internal conflicts that we watch them working out on film, on stage. There's some kind of detailed backstory that we may or may not ever find out that makes them seem more lifelike, as well as more relatable to the audience. When a certain person went, and people said, oh, it sent chills down. Why? Because it felt real. Which, the funny thing, it was real, right? It wasn't a figment of their imagination. It wasn't an illusion. What they witnessed was Anthony Hopkins as a round character with complex personalities, internal conflicts, and more, expressing what the scene called for him to express. And that's real. And it resonates with us as the audience with fear or whatever that is, spookiness, whatever that is, because it's real. A three-dimensional character in storytelling refers to, same thing, complex, nuanced, well-developed. And they are portrayed the expression of them is realistically expressed. So if I were to ask you, look at both of the Rubik's Cubes and ask you which one would be the more interesting one to work on. Now imagine that one is a character or a person to get to know, and the other one, character, person to get to know. One of them is going to be more interesting than the other one. Which one is it? And which one, if we're honest, which one do we want to actually watch on television? Which one do we actually want to buy tickets for on Broadway? Which one do we actually want to be? Because the only way we can do this is by having depth, recognizing what are my internal conflicts and how do they drive my behaviors and habits and actions. See, it's easy to reference certain things as 0 dimensions, simply a dot. 1 dimension, simply a line. 2 dimensions, a square. 3 dimensions, a cube. Now, there is a 4th dimension, a tesseract, which is basically, think of it, I don't even know how to describe it. Nonetheless, we're not even talking about that right now. We are talking about what gives us depth and space, what gives us breadth and width, height, and what makes us a solid being and expression of God. When we understand people's stories, then all of their actions, including all of the ways in which they hurt people, make sense. When I understand, why do we say things like hurt people, hurt people? I understand their story, which gives me an understanding of that's why they do this thing. There's a television show called Criminal Minds, FBI profilers. They are able to profile, make sense of various unsubs because they understand the story. They recognize the action. They understand the story that drives the action. It makes sense, which then gives them the ability to track them down, find them, catch them, imprison them. Do we understand our story, which drives our actions, including the ways we may have or be hurting people? Have we made sense of our own lives? To what degree do we know ourselves? See, it's one thing to see yourself in a mirror, but the self that you see, is it you? Or is it an interpretation of who you think you are? Because those are very different things. To what degree would you say that you are emotionally intelligent? You know, oftentimes as actors, you know, we're supposed to say, well, what is the emotion that the character, you know, what I don't need the actor to, even though there's some schools of acting where the actor feels it, but show me what the character feels based on what they're doing. What emotions are fueling the behavior? To what degree are we emotionally intelligent enough to recognize that behavior is more than likely connected to these emotions? That behavior more than likely connected to these emotions. And the more we understand that in ourselves and others, the more we are able to be a beneficial, healing presence in the world. In order to find reality, each must search for their own universe. Look for the details that contribute to this reality that one feels under the surface of things. To be an artist means to search, to find, and to look at these realities. To be an artist means never to look away. Being an artist, it's what we are. We are artists of science of mind and spirit. And we are being invited to recognize that what we think is the surface may not be, very often isn't. So how do we peel back the surface to see what's beneath? To recognize the both and. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. Whatever we plant in our subconscious mind and nourish with repetition and emotion will one day be expressed as our reality, will one day be expressed as our experience. Do we even know what we're planting in our subconscious mind? Do we know what it means to nourish it? Because if we don't know, you are what you do, not what you say you'll do. Many people say they're going to do, but they don't do. So, in the grand scheme of things, okay, that was a glitch. Come on. Come on, PowerPoint. Get it together. All of these things are tied together. You know, there's a phrase that I learned years ago in acting, directing, all that stuff. Time is money. And the general idea is you can never get your time back. So invest wisely. You can't rewind and get reimbursed. 1986 was not a good year. I want to get reimbursed at least. Can we prorate some of that year? And can I get at least 3 months back? Do something different? No. So we are being invited to look at our intentions and how they tie into our actions. What is the motive that gives us the motivation for the experiences that we are aiming to have? How is all of this tied together in terms of how we are living our lives? Because if we're not aware, consciously, actively, then someone else's script, someone else is directing and producing. And we're simply moving along like an extra in our own stories. Breathe. Embracing beneathness in all its forms means acknowledging and honoring the intricate layers of life that often go unseen. In our lives, this includes the rich tapestry of past experiences, memories, and emotions, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Each of these elements contributes to the foundation of who we are, providing nourishment for our growth and evolution. By delving into our personal beneathness, we cultivate a deeper understanding of ourselves and recognize the sacredness in every part of our journey. This introspective process allows us to appreciate the beauty in our imperfections and the lessons in our challenges, fostering a sense of oneness and wholeness. Before we turn the page, just quick note. These lessons in our challenges are the things we choose as lessons. It is not implying that the challenge is offering us a lesson as though there's an anthropomorphic God. Let me give Ray this challenge so he learns this lesson. That's not a part of this teaching. Ray goes through this challenge. Oh, prostate cancer. What am I consciously choosing to be my lesson from this or through this? Because the universe isn't sitting somewhere saying, let me see. Ray needs a challenge in order to learn. Oh, there are any number of things he needs to learn. So let's see. I'm gonna pull the what's this thing called? The I don't even know what it's called. I helped these people build this thing in Las Vegas. The jackpot machine. That's not what slot machine. That's what it is, because they put the thing in the slot and they pull. You would think the universe would know such things. What? Just wanted to mention that. Turn the page, please. Thank you. In nature, beneathness is embodied in the dynamic processes of decomposition, decay, and renewal. The soil beneath our feet is teeming with life. From the roots and the mycelia network to decomposers and detrivores, all working together to sustain the ecosystem. By recognizing and honoring all of these unseen cycles and recognizing the divinity in it, we come to see all aspects of the natural world as sacred and holy. The circle of life. Oh, sorry. Woo. In the circle of life. Yeah. Yeah, I saw the anyhow. Simba. You are okay. The circle of life. I know Deidre's like, Ray, the circle of life. Birth, growth, death, and rebirth is a continuous dance that maintains the balance and vitality of life. Embracing beneathness in nature and in ourselves deepens our connection to the earth, which is an expression of the divine, reminding us that every element of existence, no matter how hidden or how humble, all of it is a sacred part of this interconnected wholeness. Breathe. Inspiration. We are invited into this place of inspiration. What inspires us? What moves us? What motivates us? What sets the intention? What drives the activity? How are we showing up? Because as Dr. Holmes says, we must learn to live by inspiration. That means that we should let the spiritual depths of our being flow through our conversations and into our actions. Living by inspiration does not mean living chaotically. Our whole purpose is to make the intellect an instrument of, for, and as the Spirit. We must become artists in living. To live by inspiration means to sense the divine touch in and as everything, to enter into the spirit of things, to enter into the joy of living, to enter into it with such depth that we embody it. And to that end, as long as you live, keep learning how to live. In other words, keep practicing the practice. Keep breathing. Keep bathing. Keep chopping wood and carrying water. Keep waking up. Keep enjoying the sunset. Keep painting, keep writing, keep dancing, keep smiling, because all of it is more and more of what it means to learn to live our best lives. The Science of Mind and Spirit 4.0 offers us a path, practice, and way of embodied living that enables us to navigate the depths of our being and the multi-dimensional paradoxes of this life, the known, unknown, and the things that we will never know, the visible, the invisible, and the things that have yet to be made visible, the line, the square, and the cube, here, there, and the space between. We are finite and infinite. We are the many and we are the one. The more we not only study but practice as the way we live, the more we understand and evolve and become what we already are as divine expressions of God, because that is our true nature. This week's affirmation, our declaration, I will say it first. If it resonates with you, I invite you to say it with me the second time. I trust and embrace my strength as a multi-dimensional, multi-layered, multifaceted, multitudinous being who is glorious. Together. I trust and embrace my strength as a multi-dimensional, multi-layered, multifaceted, multitudinous being who is glorious. And let the choir say hallelujah and amen. This week's Thursday night study questions or Thursday night journal questions or your own personal exploration kind of stuff. If someone were to describe me, keep in mind this is you talking, if someone were to describe me, would they describe me as being deep? If so, why so? If not, why not? How skilled am I at looking beneath the surface of life? What is an example of how I have done so recently? How attuned to the stuff we just said in the affirmation declaration, how attuned to my multidimensional, multi-layered, multifaceted, and multitudinous self am I? How attuned? What are some of the paradoxes that I am still wrestling with? I'm finite but infinite. I'm eternal, but I'm going to die. I'm Ray, but I'm also the universe. I'm one person, and yet I'm all that is. What? What are some of the paradoxes that I'm still wrestling with? What is beneath my habits and my behaviors? What are 3 things that I do every day that have no, quote unquote, have no spiritually enhancing value? What are they? 3 things that I do every day that do have spiritual value. Now, yes, I hear you now. Pause for a second. Yes, I know, because you're going to say, but Ray, you said it's all spiritual practice. That means it's spiritual practice when we are doing it from the awareness and as the awareness that it is spiritual practice. Simply doing laundry the way we normally have been doing laundry It's not a spiritual practice if I'm not bringing that element to it. And if I'm bringing that element to it, then that means I am able to respond and say, meditation does what for you spiritually? Journaling does what? Prayer does what? Okay, you can answer those. Doing laundry does what? If you're not able to respond and answer that question, then it's an activity, but it's being done from the right. It's not being done from the consciousness and the awareness that I am choosing in the same way that I do this meditation. I light a candle, I light some incense, I sit, I have a posture, I begin actively breathing to enter into. Am I doing that when I do laundry? Is there some kind of process or ritual to put me in this? If there isn't, then it's not a spiritual practice. So don't be trying to gaslight me and try to say everything I do is spiritual practice. No, it doesn't work that way. And finally, what is one thing I say I plan, I intend, I want to do that I have not done yet? What is the motivation for me not to do it? Because if I'm not doing it yet, but I say I want to, I'm not planning, I'm just, yes, I want to. I want to go to Japan. Okay. Is it an intention? One day. So you have any idea? Nope. Then you're motivated more to not go. So what is it? What's the motivation? That's because you're acting on the motivation. So you can't say you're motivated to go when there's more energy of the not going. Okay, we're all on the same page, just making sure. Our practice this week entails, drum roll maestro, have a deep conversation or discussion about a movie or a television show where you are discussing the characters, the story, or some other things from the show or whatever from a metaphysical perspective. So do the Golden Girls and discuss the characters and whatnot from a metaphysical perspective. What do they represent? What are they offering? What's the lesson? Etc. Dun, dun, dun. Breathe as we enter into that space of infinite awareness we refer to as prayer. Simply anchoring and grounding into the infinite awareness of all that God is, expressing itself in, through, and as us, and the multiple layers and facets of all of life that we are, all of life that is, all of life. That we are forever in the presence of the sacred, because we are the sacred. We are the universe itself expressing, made in the image and likeness of that which is the truth, the whole truth, and only that which is true, as love, wisdom, creativity, the all that is. And so we breathe, allowing this awareness to flow through us, impacting all of our actions, impacting all of our mental equivalents, our thoughts, our words, our emotions and feelings, and our actions, allowing this awareness, this multitudinous gloriousness to show up as us, all that we are, everywhere that we go. And in so doing, we are the change agents of planet Earth, this universe, this galaxy, this expression of life. And through our awareness of the beneathness, we create a world that works for all. And so it is. And so it is. Namaste, blessings, much appreciation, much love, all that good stuff. I will see you sometime during the week if you're jumping into either Wednesday night discussion group, the Thursday study group, if you're in the sign language class, anything else that we're doing that I may not be aware of at this present moment, anything going on. I will see you there, or if not there, I will see you right here next Sunday. Blessings, much love and appreciation. Share the message with a friend.